Going behind the mic now with Bob RIdley, the veteran voice of the Medicine Hat Tigers. Things rolling in Medicine Hat right now, but before we hit on that, talking about last year, team out of the playoffs. Bob, was that expected? Was that the beginning of the rebuilding in Medicine Hat?
Yeah, it was kind of in the midst of a rebuilding program. The Tigers still thought, even last year with the talent they had, that they were capable maybe to sneak into the playoffs, and it took a sudden death game with the Edmonton Oil Kings to decide which team was going to make the playoffs. So rather than playing 72 games, Tigers actually played 73 regular season games. That's how close they were. But it didn't happen for them. Edmonton, having to win that particular game, went on into the playoffs against the Oil Kings, and the Tigers were out. But you know something, Patrick? It was probably a good thing and give them all summer to kind of retool, you might say. They drafted very, very well as far as the European draft was concerned. Did some pretty good drafting as far as the Western Hockey League is concerned as well. I think it proved to be beneficial, but, you know, it's always kind of difficult to drop out of the playoffs. And that was the first time they'd missed the playoffs in the last 13 years. So, tough pill to swallow, but they have certainly moved on.
Yeah, absolutely. Leading the division right now. Tell us about the success of this year's group.
Actually, Patrick, it's kind of funny that they are a better team out on the road than they have been at home. Not saying they have played poorly at home, it's just that right now they have a better winning percentage out on the road than they do at home. But there's about 8 other teams in the Western Hockey League with the same scenario. Home ice advantage hasn't meant a whole lot to a lot of the teams here in the Western Hockey League. So that's kind of the way it's going. But other than that, they've played very, very well. They've got an exciting team. They've got 3 lines that can score. The 4th line has chipped in as well with a few goals, but they're more of a checking line. So it's good balance, and it's a fun team to watch.
Now, I wanted to ask specifically about the guys drafted into the NHL or signed. A number of NHL ties to your team. Matt Bradley, John Dahlstrom, David Quenneville, Nick Schneider. Not to be here all day, but give us some insights on that group.
It's a group of real good players. Of course, Nick Schneider is a goaltender, and boy, when you've got a top-notch goaltender, that can carry a long ways, not only in the regular season, but also in the playoffs. Nick Schneider, an outstanding talent. Calgary Flames is signed. He wasn't drafted, but he was signed by the Calgary Flames. He went in there on an invite and kind of took the Calgary Flames camp by storm, and so therefore he's got his career pointed in the right direction. John Dahlstrom, of course, from Sweden. He was a kid that the Tigers picked up in the European draft. He's drafted by Chicago Blackhawks. A nice touch around the net, a big kid, and he's already scored some big goals for this Tiger Hockey Club. And then you got Dave Quenneville. He's got a blooming shot off the back end. He's also a player that the Tigers are going to be relying on as far as the power play is concerned, and he's already put up, I think, 10 goals on the season so far. Christian Rubens, he was invited to the Winnipeg Jets training camp, and he was a kid that they looked very, very heavily on and got a lot of potential. He's a big kid. He's a defenseman, and you know how tough it is to find a defenseman nowadays. So he's a kid that wasn't drafted, but he did receive an invite to a pro training camp. And then Matt Bradley, of course, a draft pick of the Montreal Canadiens, and they have high hopes that once he matures as a player, that he will become a Hab one day. So all in all, some high-end players trolling for this year's Tiger team.
Yeah, and players who represent NHL teams, I think that all have a bit of a following out here, so we're glad to hear about it. Bob, thanks for this. Know you've been doing this a while. Appreciate it. Best of luck going forward. Looks like you got a good one in Medicine Hat this year.
We got a good one, and all the best to you and the Eagles as well.
That's Bob RIdley, the voice of the Medicine Hat Tigers, joining us here. You're listening to McDonald Auto Group Scream Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.